And we're on the last part of Saajid Lipham's Muslim Sister versus College Professor. And I just want to revisit that metacognitive part that we were looking at, just to go over those three areas that are prominent throughout the video. So we'll talk about the psychological warfare allegations, the culture of the American university and college, and then a religious student being offended and blasphemy and the like. So if you remember, with the metacognition part, I wanted the reader to pay attention to how Saajid uses the discourse. He uses this subliminal way of stressing superiority of his beliefs over others, using arrogance and one-sidedness. Second was to look at his belittling language to try and further his argument without bringing proofs for the argument. Trying to cast doubts about science and evolution, anthropology, labeling them as indoctrination and false beliefs. There's no scientific proofs given there in the video. And then just to look at his facial expressions and the body language that he uses, which I thought was what made the video probably the most entertaining for me, because for some reason, it just feels like he's being coached. I don't know if he's going to a drama coach or something, but he's like really intense facial features. It really brings out the video there. And I really like the whole ambiance of the way he's got things going on there, which I do find odd. You're speaking out against the West and you're wearing a cap or a baseball cap, and you have on, clothing that is resembling the kuffar. And I mean, even look at that tree in the back is kind of Zen. Isn't that imitating the kuffar as well? So I don't know. I'm just, just some observations for, I'm a visual person. I like to pay attention to a lot of the details and check some of the MacGuffins that they use for people to focus on as they speak. So with this issue of the psychological warfare allegations, it brings this like conspiracy theory idea. There's like a lot of conspiracy theory there. I was really, really shocked by that. I mean, I know some Salafis are very conspiracy theory, but for the most part, most are not that way. But I think they're giving more and more into it, though. But at any rate, I'll talk about conspiracy theories maybe at a later time, because there is a book that I've been wanting to translate that talks about the conspiracy theories against the Muslim woman. But I'll save that for probably another video. And then within that framework of the psychological warfare allegations is this the introduction of the moiety that's consistently a theme throughout the video, the us versus them. And there's no evidences, though, to provide that this is happening in America. I was waiting for him to bring me something really concrete, really, really, just something that demonstrates, Muslims getting locked up or getting their beards trimmed, people holding them by the head and just trimming their beards, and niqabs being ripped off and all kinds of crazy stuff. But nothing like that was brought to our attention in the video. So I don't see what the psychological warfare really is. Some say, well, it's psychological. So I understand that, but at the same time, there still isn't anything that's physical as well, right? Then the second thing of the culture of the American university and college, it seems to be totally lost on Saajid, and that's understandable. He's a product of Saudi education and their indoctrination. We learned what he thinks of the culture, and the only conclusion we really can reach when we do CSDA is this is, his efforts are not bridge building, they're bridge burning. He's definitely a person who likes to burn them bridges. He doesn't want to see any type of ta'awun ala al-birri wa taqwa. He doesn't want to see people, Muslim or non-Muslim, coming together on piety and righteousness, right? And then the third point is that of the religious student being offended by secular and scientific facts that have been proven, but there's no proofs for creationism, which is what they're both pushing, the Muslim sister and Saajid. My encouragement, maybe Saajid or the Salafi sister, if they have the truth with them, then write an academic paper, get it peer reviewed, and debunk evolution. One thing to add here is that there's no proof that the professor did anything that resembled a psychological war. And there's no proof there was even a Muslim sister versus a college professor situation. She was just offended by something on a discussion board. So it all really just boils down to Saajid's discourse here in this instance is it's hyperbole and it's clickbait. It's to get views and subscribers is really all that it is. So my final analysis here, if you'll notice, what Saajid is doing in this video, he, as an Occidental, in the capacity of an Occidentalist, he's using negative Occidentalism to critique science as something false and misguided. This is known as self-Occidentalism. And I'll talk about the various, the spectrum of Occidentalism and Orientalism in my introduction to Salafi discourse, critical Salafi discourse analysis. So you can look that video up on the channel. And then lastly here, as an Occidental, he does something really interesting here. In the capacity of an Orientalist, he uses negative Orientalism to critique his fellow Muslims for their cooperation in studying science and its deviant theories. And that's something that I'm noticing a lot of Salafi thought doing as well. And before I end with some parting words, there's something really interesting that I saw on my Insta feed today, and I just wanted to share that with the viewers that I think will drive home just a point about ourselves as whether we have children or not. We may be responsible as uncles, or we may have some type of family members that are young, but this is something that really, I think, fits with what we saw today. And it says, train your kids in how to think, how to stick to the facts, how to draw rational conclusions, and how not to make assumptions. These are vital skills in a culture that constantly tells them what to think and never how. That really, for me, describes me now as an older adult, 28 years after being a Salafi Muslim, of how I broke away from that, thinking out of the box, so to speak. And I thought that was really, really beautiful statement that I wanted to share. And hopefully others will take that into consideration, Salafi or non-Salafi. Okay, this completes our decoding of Saajid's video, Muslim Sister versus College Professor. I hope that the viewers were able to see some critical Salafi discourse analysis in action and discovering new ways to think and approach discourses and claims that come with them. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and adding a comment. And until then, stay gold.